It's Freddie Mercury. Nothing's going to happen to Freddie Mercury. It's a bizarre start to the story. I was building an aeroplane. I had long, flowing brown locks. Darling, look at me now.
I used to be thin. Everything was around the piano.
And in walked Freddie Mercury. We did The Great Pretender in my house. He said, oh, what's on the B-side? And Fred and I looked at each other and went, oh, no. Go in there and play some of your flashy classic shit, and I'll sing something over the top. This is exactly what he said.
He had two people on pedestals in his head, John Lennon, Elvis Presley.
So we've got Stevie Wonder, of course, Dionne Warwick, Ashford and Simpson. On about the fourth floor was John Walker from the Walker Brothers.
Wowza.
And he said, I'm going to ask Freddie Mercury to do it. And I said, well, good luck with that, pal.
People say he was a huge opera fan. No. He was a huge Montserrat Caballé fan. She started on cigarettes as well.
Well, she did, yeah.
And Freddie was, you can't smile, your voice. And she says, well, yeah, and yours. But there was only one Freddie. It was the last time he sang live.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, I think this may be a good point if we could bring in your great friend and become a friend of mine now as well, Peter. Should we get Peter in on the conversation, have a chat about your time with Freddie? Would that be a good idea now, do you think? No, okay, that's just...
Sorry.
He's just trouble, isn't he? Really?
Follows me around everywhere. Come on, Peter.
Peter Freestone, thank you for joining us.
I'm really pleased to be here. I'm really happy.
That was all edited in very well. It's like he appeared just like Star Trek. He just sort of was beamed down. So you guys have been friends for a long time. Come on, it's like...
a year or two. Since we were young.
I had long, flowing brown locks. Darling, look at me now.
I used to be thin.
When did you first meet, you two? When was the first time? Can you remember?
Well, I guess it would be when I first got involved with Fred, really, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road.
You didn't know each other before that? No. Okay.
No.
So that was for the... we were talking about this earlier on. So that was... when you were doing Time, you were the musical director on Time.
I was indeed, yeah.
Which was Dave Clark, from the Dave Clark 5,
yeah.
his musical that was massively successful at the time.
It was, yeah.
And you were doing a record for... like, of the tracks that were used. You had Stevie Wonder, you had David Cassidy, I think. Well, David Cassidy was one of the performers.
David Cassidy took over from Cliff.
Cliff Richard obviously was the first guy that was the main star, wasn't he?
But the thing about that is we did the album first way before the show, and Dave is well connected, so. We've got Stevie Wonder, of course, Dionne Warwick, Ashford and Simpson, all fabulous acts. And he said to me one day, he said, look, I've got 2 songs left, the title song, and he said, I'm going to ask Freddie Mercury to do it. And I said, well, good luck with that, pal. And Freddie was living... Well, I just thought, well, that's never going to happen.
So, sorry to stop you there, but how did you first meet Dave Clark?
Oh, I beg your pardon. OK, we'll rewind to when I was a student at Royal College of Music. And I was about sort of 18. And what used to happen was people used to phone the Royal College and say, any of your students like to give piano lessons or where it's a bit of money? And I got offered this job to go and teach this guy. He was an industrialist, actually, called Eddie. Eddie, I can't remember his second name. But he lived in the Water Gardens, which was then the sort of one of these kind of great places to live at the top of the Edgware Road. Mm-hmm. Very modern buildings. They're kind of a bit archaic and old-fashioned now. But anyway, a lot of people lived there. And so I went to meet Eddie, and I started giving him piano lessons. And he said, I must introduce you to 2 people that live in this block. One is on about the 4th floor was John Walker from the Walker Brothers.
Wow.
Right, I've toured with him as well.
Scott Walker's one of my heroes.
Yeah, I did a couple of albums with Scott. So,
that. Oh my God, Scott Walker.
Yeah, great.
Wonderful music.
Yeah, but anyway, so right next door to me is Mike, who plays keyboards with the Dave Clark 5, and I said, wow. And Eddie had
he was famous at this time, obviously, Dave Clark.
Massively, yeah.
They were 60s, weren't they? 63 was...
But still, they were still kind of pumping out, I can't remember, there's a kind of... he got a range of records out like Dave Clark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 master hits or whatever it was, one of those kind of packaging things. So he was still knocking those out in the 70s. And anyway, Eddie had a party and invited both John Walker and Mike from Dave Clark 5. And so they came to this party, and Mike Smith said to me, "Oh, yeah, I hear you're the young man who's teaching the, And I said, yeah. He said, I don't suppose you can play any rock and roll or boogie woogie, can you? And I said, well, and Eddie said, yes, he can. and said, well, let's hear you then. So I went and did it, and, it went down quite well. So Dave said, I'll remember you. And he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of that ragtime thing you were talking about there, because on the Rock Bottom, I love your ragtime mid-8. Right. It goes into that mid-8 in the middle, and you do that ragtime piano. Well, anyway, that's just a little side note, but I love that. Well, I was just thinking of that.
I thought I've got to give myself something to do. But,
no, it was brilliant.
So that was it. And Dave said, I'll keep in touch with you and find it. But he did, and he became a friend of the family, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. I used to ring my mum up and that kind of stuff, and my mum was on her own, so we got to meet the whole family. And so and there wasn't much for me to do. He was producing other people as well, so he got me involved in that on an arrangement basis and obviously a playing basis, and that was it. So we remained good pals. And then when time came up, he said, "Look, would you like to be involved in this?" And I said, "I don't really want to go in the West End for a year, Dave." He said, "No." He said, "We'll do the records first," and so we got involved in all that. And then he said. By the end of that, I knew I had to do some time in the West End, so I did for a year, until we replaced Cliff Richard, who was the then star, with David Cassidy. So prior to this, what happened before I met Freddie was that the two songs he'd agreed to do were In My Defence and Time. And he'd said he was working in Musicland, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Germany, in Munich.
And he'd said to David, "Look, I've got the band here. I'll send me what you need to do, anything you want me to look at in the songs, but I'll do my own version in there." And Dave said, "Well, look, I'd rather you didn't do that. Would you be prepared to come to London and meet Mike, who's done all the rest of it with Dionne Warwick and." A little bit on the Stevie Wonder track and all that, whatever. So he said, yeah, fine. David said, if it doesn't work out, you don't get on, or it doesn't kind of gel the way you want it to, I will pay for it all to be done again in Munich. And so, thank you, David. So Freddie did come over to London. Prior to this is a bizarre start to the story. I was building an aeroplane.
As you do.
Yeah. I like flying.
Not a toy one, a real one.
A real one
that you can fly.
No, a real one that I flew. And I had a building space at Hatfield Aerodrome, as it was.
Get out of town.
Yeah. And so it's a nice Sunday afternoon. I thought, well, before I get in, I want to get away from thinking about what's going on tomorrow. Right. And so I did a little bit of work on the aeroplane. I came back through these tiny little villages in sort of North Hertfordshire. And I'd done the journey many times, but it was kind of like, it's an idyllic English kind of countryside. And I went round this hairpin bend, and all I saw was a truck coming towards me. And it just went, it was head on.
Could have been the end of everything.
Oh, yeah, well, it nearly was. And the guide stolen the truck, and he was drunk and, whatever. So he ran off. And I was trapped in the car. The car saved my life, actually. It's a decent brand. And,
Volvo? No? Volvo on the side?
It was a Porsche, actually.
Of course it was.
Porsche, yeah. And I slid underneath everything did its supposed to, and the bag went off. And I don't remember much about that, except people trying to get me out of the car because it was kind of smoke was coming out everywhere. And someone saying that this guy that ran off, I remember hearing someone saying he's already hit 5 cars on the way through the village.
Oh my God!
And the fire service had to be called to cut me out, and I was sent to Hemel Hempstead Hospital. you know, at which point, you know, in the ambulance, I'm going, how am I going to explain this to Dave? Not least of all my family, who were expecting me home like 3 hours before. And look, time went on, and I wasn't seriously injured. But what
4 ribs
I've broken 4 ribs.
It's not
at the top
serious. No.
And it didn't hurt then because I was full of Class A drugs, you know.
Always helpful.
Yeah, always helpful. And what I also noticed that my wrists had swung twice the size because although the steering wheel had collapsed, there was still that initial impact. And so by the time I got home, you know, I was like, I didn't feel like it. But I spoke to David. I said, look, this has happened. And he said, well, I cancelled Freddie. I said, don't even think about it. Right? Don't think about it. If I'm still feeling... I felt sort of OK. I thought, that's just... I'll be fine. And that was that. He said, look, if anything changes, let me know in the morning. In the meantime, I will arrange a car to take you into Abbey Road and da-da-da-da. And so that was that. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I sort of woke up in bed. I thought, I've got to go for a wee. And I tried to get out of bed. And I don't know whether you ever had a broken rib or not. It's like sticking a knife in you. But I had 4 of these knives attacking me like a ninja warrior. And I had to ask my wife to get me out of bed and help me have a wee. So it wasn't looking good, let's put it that way. By midday the next day, I thought, OK, ibuprofen and adrenaline had started to kick in. So I turned up at Abbey Road, and Dave said, are you all right? I said, I'm fine. I'm actually fine. And in walked Freddie Mercury. Well, anything that I thought was wrong with me disappeared instantly. Because it was, I mean, he was a force of nature, even when he didn't say anything. Just the, you know...
that charisma.
And he was so, initially, so warm. You know, obviously a little bit, you know, it was like in his first meeting, it'd be a little bit... But he'd had a briefing about me that I wasn't, a serial killer and that kind of stuff. I was kind of OK.
Play the piano.
I play the piano a bit, yeah. And so we started to run through In My Defence, which is the first track. And it was getting more and more... The way Freddie works is... It's just piano, bass and drums, and sometimes just piano and him.
Sure.
But we get a feel, and we're working out the arrangement. And it got better and better and better, and eventually, you know from being a producer that when you get that take, you know that's the one, right?
Yeah, sure.
You know it's a musician. You know the guy that's in the box should know it, and if they're a decent producer, they do. And so that was it, and everybody's cheering. Freddie goes, that was marvellous, you know. And so we went in and listened to it, and it was absolutely what we wanted it to be. And at that moment, I went, got away with it. Not got away with it, but...
Relieved you'd done it, yeah.
Relieved I'd done it. And then I started to feel a bit weird. And but then Freddie said, oh, darling, he said, this was so wonderful. He said, look, let's go out and do one more. And I want more of that flashy shit. And he's going on and on and on. He said, we can do it bigger and better. And I said, well, OK. David Clark said, I think, Freddie, you find that what we've... He said, I know, it's wonderful, but, you know, he was energetic and enthusiastic, and it had all come to pass. It was all right. And so we went out and did another one. It was OK, but it wasn't as good. And we went back in... before we went out to do the other one, David said, look, before we go out, I must tell you what went on the day before with Mike. And so he went through this whole story about what had happened, and Fred looked and said, oh, dear. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, well, he said, Phoebe, get some help here and some large... but a few of those pills, and that should be fine. So off he went in the studio again and did the not quite so perfect one. So
thought getting pills saved the day.
Yeah.
Well, the show must go on, as he said himself.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, that was how it started. And
but you see, he showed his concern.
He did, actually, yeah. He did show his
for about
concern.
a second.
Phoebe, give us all the stuff on the shelf then. She'll be all right.
But I can get that, though. When it comes to producers, man, let's just get it done.
Just get it done,
It's got to be, you're so in the moment, about and what you need. It's like sometimes you can be like...
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get it.
But then, of course, everybody was satisfied with that. So we then went on to do the title song from the thing, Time Itself, which was more of a Queenie production and all that. So that was that. When that was all over with, Fred and I had a conversation. He said, look, we're taking a bit of time off. They'd just done the kind of magic tour. And we went out for a bit of time. He said, look, we've all got studio time booked. Would you like to do something? And I thought about it for a millisecond, said, fuck off, Fred, no, I'm not interested. But I thought, is this real? And so he said, first of all, he said, before we do anything like that, he said, you've got this nice little studio in your house, haven't you? I said, yeah, I have. And he said, I want to come to your house and I want to record a cover version. And he said, I've never really done a cover version properly before, at least not one that I would release, you know, to the general public. But I've always wanted to sing The Great Pretender.
Buck Ram, the great Buck Ram, yeah.
And so I said, wow, OK. And so that's what we did. We did The Great Pretender in my house.
Wow. The original was actually done in 1955.
Yeah, it was.
And never been done really since until you guys did it.
So that
the Platters, wasn't it? The Platters original?
The Platters, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Platters, yeah. And so we did, and he said, right, we'll do that. It'll go out. It'll just shoot into the hip end, go out, and we'll do something else. And so I said, okay, fine. What have you in mind? He said, well, would you be interested in trying to write with me, and we could see what we can come up with? And I thought about it for a millisecond and said, fuck off again. And there we are.
Going back to the Great Pretender, so, I mean, it's a fabulous tune. I love that tune. I mean, it's great, so dramatic and melodramatic and everything. It's just, and his vocal is incredible. But I was listening to it this morning, and getting ready for this, and I felt it's Freddie like channeling his inner kind of Elvis on that record. I mean, there was a lot of kind of the way the vibrato worked. Was he an Elvis fan at all? Because there was a kind of an Elvis vibe to it. Peter,
he loved good singers. Full stop. He loved Cliff Richard's voice, you know, and Cliff was a great singer.
Sure, and Cliff was obviously a big Elvis fan.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
He had two people on pedestals in his head: John Lennon, Elvis Presley.
Oh, okay.
Those are the two people that he aimed to be.
Because it was just the vibrato on The Great Pretender. It sounded very Elvis to me.
It's the key change where it really sounds great.
Yeah.
But also the thing is, with Freddie, you listen to the voice and how he's singing. I mean, he controls the voice through the note, and then just towards the end, lets the vibrato come in. It was just something he did.
Yeah, it's also, it helps the pitch. So if you're hitting it, a lot of singers are very conscious of that. So if you put in the little bit of vibrato at the end, it kind of helps, you know, the note just doesn't die off. It's a way of softening the note as it goes. Anyway.
Yeah, well, he was one of the world's great backing singers, which doesn't apply to a lot of frontline singers, the main singer.
Very few of them can do that.
Very few can do that. But the voice he employed for harmonies was just unbelievable. It was the richest, most beautiful sound. Absolutely fantastic.
So when you did The Great Pretender, you must have thought, oh my God, this is amazing. I mean, in the room, listening to the vocal coming back, you're in the room.
Yeah.
It must have been extraordinary.
Well, it was, and it was the never-ending track as well, because he kept changing the ending. So I put this sort of fake fiddle on, just I thought we'll get a real fiddle player to play, and he kept saying, "No, don't do it. A bit more, make it a bit more, whatever."
Because he was famously non-technical.
Yeah,
he had no studio-wise, he had no real technical knowledge.
Yeah.
He was always trying to explain himself, and you had to kind of somehow find through the riddle, of what he was saying, what the answer.
Do it like that, you know. So, yeah, okay, fine, Fred. I mean, so we finished that, and I think it got to number 4, didn't it? Got to top 5.
Yeah. I remember it very well.
The thing is, don't forget, it was being released as a single.
Yes, oh yeah. Oh, okay.
It was just a one-off single, wasn't it?
It was.
But it was a single, but what happens with a single?
Well, what happens with a single? So the engineer said, he said, oh, what's on the B-side? And Fred and I looked at each other and went, oh, no. Oh, no. We don't have a B-side. Right? And so he said, it was getting late then, you know, about midnight. And he said, go in there and play some of your flashy classical shit, and I'll sing something over the top. This is exactly what he said. And I went, oh, okay. So I started to play something, and he started to warble in this falsetto voice.
Yeah.
And that was Exercises in Free Love, which you put on the B-side. And that's another thing. I said, what's the meaning of, why is it Exercises in Free Love? He said, I don't know, I think it's very late, you know.
It's late. Stop asking me these questions.
Well, the thing is, there were no words anyway.
No, because we didn't have time to write a lyric. And so that was the precursor. That was the precursor to when we went to Barcelona, which happened quite quickly afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I think we were making the video The Great Pretender, which is...
When he got called.
He got called.
He got the call.
The call, yeah.
But hold on, wasn't just going back a little bit? So, The Great Pretender, and then famously he was being interviewed somewhere, and he was asked a question.
Yeah. It was at the end of the. It was on tour, doing the
Kind of Magic tour.
Kind of Magic tour.
Yeah.
They were doing a show in Spain, Barcelona, I think, and he was interviewed, and they asked him, who do you think has the best voice in the world? Expecting Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin. Sure. And he said, look, I'm not saying this because we are here in Barcelona, but as far as I am concerned, the best voice in the world belongs to Montserrat Caballé. And she got to hear this interview. Her brother, who was her manager as well,
Carlos,
had also been approached by the Olympics committee to do the entertainment for the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. And she was the one who came up with the idea of, well, look, we have to do this entertainment. Who better to do the entertainment for the Olympics than Freddie Mercury? And that was...
Yeah.
The start.
It was the start.
The phone call came just after Christmas, 1987. That was the phone call.
So he must have been very excited because he was a huge opera fan, wasn't he? Yeah. So getting that call
also
must
the
have been
fact that it was
fabulous.
her that was calling him, because he. The thing is, people say he was a huge opera fan. No, he was a huge Montserrat Caballé fan.
Fair enough.
He was a fan to a degree of Domingo Carreras Pavarotti because he would listen to them on a cassette, just an aria at a time, because they could control their voices. They had spent years being taught they could do everything with their voice. Freddie had absolutely no control over his voice. It came out as it came out.
But range-wise, he could have been an opera singer. He had the range. He had been trained.
If he had been trained.
But he had the range, and either you're born with that or you're not, you know, and he had it. So he had the range.
If he'd been trained...
he could have been an opera singer, yeah.
But he had... I mean, you saw in Sueño, when Montserrat stands there and goes quiet, and Freddie walks away from the microphone to go quiet. Yeah. I mean, he could not control, and that's why he admired anybody who had control.
But going back to the B-side.
The B-side, yes.
Right.
Exercises.
When Caballé called, and Fred phoned me up, he's very excited. Because I've had this phone call. And he said, well, we're going to Barcelona next week. And I said, oh, well, good, enjoy. He said, no, you've got to come with me. And so I said, OK, fine. And he said, and we'll take this with us. He said, I've never met her. We'll take this track because we don't get on, or it gets a kind of a dull part of the proceedings. This might make her laugh. It's me pretending to be a soprano. And I said, I don't think that's necessary, Fred. It's like, whatever, I'm sure you'll get on. Anyway, they did get on famously. And after about 3 hours and about 20 bottles of Cristal champagne, we were all in a very happy mood. And he said, and she said, well, I have to go now, deal. And he said, well, before you go, you you must listen to this because we brought it over, and he said it's me pretending to be you. And she sort of got it wrong. She said, oh, you wrote it for me. Really? You know. And then...
But she loved it.
She loved it. So she gave it the full listen. And then she said, I love it. I will give it its world premiere at Covent Garden in 10 days' time, and you will play to me. I went, oh, thanks.
So she went off to do the rehearsal already. Freddie went up to the room, and he had to go and write out the notes.
Did it?
She will sight read anything, but she needs the notes.
Yeah, she's the charts, yeah.
So they closed the restaurant in the Ritz in Barcelona while I used the piano in.
Get out. Amazing.
Absolutely true. And then it was only a few days later, wasn't it? I kind of, I can't remember exactly. But
well, this was a Tuesday, and on the Sunday was her recital at Covent Garden.
Wow.
So we had no rehearsal.
And you were playing it?
Yeah.
But
no rehearsal.
Freddie had...
And was Freddie there, obviously, is he?
Yeah, but it had gone from his head.
Like an old queen.
It had gone from his head.
Right.
And we were sitting in the front row of the Royal Stall Circle.
Yeah.
And it was the end of the show. And he said, oh, I've just got to go to the toilet. And off he went. And the lights went down, and Freddie was looking, and the next thing he saw was Mike Moran walking out in front of Montserrat on stage.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So just going back a little bit, the very first time you were in the studio with Freddie, the very first time you heard his voice to something that you're working with him on, I mean, how was that?
It's extraordinary. It's another one of those pinch me moments because we had proven that we could work together on that level, with the time things. But when it came to just something different, and it was just me and him, like Great Pretender or what we subsequently went on to do. But it would have been on the Great Pretender, and I remember sitting at the other side of the glass and going, Freddie Mercury's ready to sing, and I'm in charge of the production. And there again, you kind of think, if anybody had have told me, I would never have thought anything like this could ever happen. But it did, and and then it became a normality. It was just.
But you know what it's like when you get a great singer.
Oh, it's
and
it's
you're
so
in the
easy.
room.
It's so easy.
And it's like a moment of total magic.
Yeah.
Even in my own humble career, it's like when you get a great and you have that moment, you feel somehow honoured and blessed to be there. Blessed is probably too. But you know what I mean? To be in the room at that same time, you just think, because there's not that many of them that are that good. You know what I mean? When you get to that level, it's a whole other thing.
Yeah. But you know what? As a producer, sometimes, it's a delight. But sometimes when you go, oh, fuck, I've got to put the vocal on now. We've all been there, right?
Yeah,
and
true,
because sometimes it's hard work.
Oh, it's a lot of hard work.
And it depends. I'm not saying necessarily a bad singer, but maybe they don't have an idea about dynamics or phrasing. That
they're waiting to be told.
They're waiting to be told.
But Freddie famously never rehearsed. He was like, he would get all his ideas together, but when he's behind the mic for a take, that was it. He was going to go for it.
But when he was recording, it was like watching a live performance. Because it didn't just sing,
So he was in the whole mood of it, and he looked gestures, and he wasn't just standing quietly in front of the mic. Was he animated when he was singing?
Yeah. But I remember saying to the first engineer was my engineer. Then when David Richards came on later on, but I remember saying to my engineer, I said, even if he coughs at the start, just take everything, And so we did and I remember my engineer said, would you want to run through, Freddie? He said, I don't do run-throughs, darling.
Yeah, I understand that, because you learn that early as a producer, don't you, that the take can be the first one, it can be the very first take, and if you don't have it, you can be waiting, days, months to get that take again. As myself as a producer earlier in my career, I used to think, they should be able to do it any time, but that's not true.
That's not true.
There is a magic moment. No. It's a nuance you can't really explain, that they capture everything. It's a very strange thing.
Yeah. But it also has the technical, the cans right, all that kind of stuff. You got this, that. But famously, he was just always there.
So then you get the first meeting with you guys and Montserrat. How did that happen? I know we explained the story about it, but in the studio.
Oh, in studio?
Yeah. How was the process?
Well, what happened was
we turned up 6 weeks later after 3 songs had been done.
Well, no. What happened then was that Fred had booked it in the Townhouse Studios. I think they booked a year, wasn't it? Because the boys were in there as well.
The studio. You don't do that anymore.
No,
anyway.
no, don't. You'll give it a week.
And they did it just for band meetings because it was the only time all 4 of them were together.
That's right.
God. The good old days.
Yeah. So off we went, and we started to work on a song, and it was the first one we did was what became All God's People, which is on the Innuendo album, and that was. Queen took that track over, which is fine. So we started to work on that, and after the Opera House thing, we went back to Garden Lodge for dinner, and then we had this. I mean, it must have been about 6 o'clock in the morning.
6 in the morning,
and she was flying off to Blooming.
She walked out in full evening dress.
But we were around. Yeah,
amazing.
We were around the piano. I still had a bloody top hat and the tail.
Yes. Yeah.
But
brilliant.
But the one thing that I said about this, they were, what were they doing? I always forget the word. Just messing around, singing.
Jamming.
Improvising.
Improvising, yeah. Because they were improvising. Because it was, nothing was really set. But in that whole 4 or 5 hours, they never ended in different keys with the piano and the voices. He always anticipated exactly where they were going to go.
Just lucky.
Always.
Well, he's got the ear.
Always. He knew exactly. And you can...
Yeah, singers appreciate that. You know, they really appreciate that because obviously you got to get keys right because otherwise singers oversing and, you got to understand the voice and where its limitations are.
She did not know what she was doing because without notes, she's lost.
Well, but the thing was, I remember saying, she said, I'm tired of this opera shit. I want to sing.
Oh, but that was after she'd started on the champagne.
No,
But it sounds like you were having fun.
Oh, we were just having fun.
She started on
yeah.
cigarettes as well.
Well, she did, yeah.
And Freddie was, you can't smile, your voice. And she says, well, yeah, and yours.
So that went on, and sort of at some point, she said, it would be lovely if we could do something together.
Yes.
And so we didn't really work on it too much, but that was kind of agreed.
There was also actually the beginnings of a rough little idea of Barcelona at that point. Just the odd.
Yeah, but it was totally different to what it finished up as.
Like it ended up, yes.
Now off she went to Buenos Aires or whatever it is, Tierra del Fuego, whatever the next gig was for her, and so we carried on, working on All God's People. And Fred said, he keeps calling me, I keep getting messages. Is it ready yet? and so we said, God, we better start really thinking serious about this, because I want to come and record. And so we started, and I said, where are we going to? Oh, he said, where are we going to start? And I said, well, let's give it a title, And he said, oh, we'll call it Barcelona. It's the first time that we met, which is the first line of the chorus.
Fabulous.
So that's where the thing came from. And I said, what we've got to be very careful about this is, and, we shouldn't make the mistake that many people have made before, is that you never sing anything remotely connected to opera, and she never sings anything remotely connected to,
pop,
our side of it.
Yeah.
What we have to do is fashion a piece of music that doesn't compromise either's, sort of, grandeur, if you like. And so that's why Barcelona was a difficult thing to write. And at that point, there really was no template for this. And opera singers had sung with, pop singers and, Frank Sinatra or whatever you want before. But it was always in that kind of stilted way, not stilted, but it's difficult. It's like teaching a ballet dancer to tap dance, isn't it? You know, it doesn't. It's not a thing they do. Their whole projection is different. Their phrasing's different. It's a different kind of thing. So we had to make sure that she was comfortable in what she had to sing, and Fred was comfortable in what he had to sing. But prior to that, we couldn't find any. We looked about it after. We couldn't find anything that was remotely like it before. So it was hard to write. And by the time we'd written that, and she came and we did a demo of it, he did both voices on it, she said, "Oh, I love this. Can we do an album?" And we went, "Blimey." And it was a year's work. It was very hard to write that stuff.
Literally, they would have to do 3 songs because she was fully booked.
Yeah.
Of course.
And she'd fly in for 2 days to record her 3 tracks, and then fly away again, and then fly back to record a track. And
I'm going to say, listening, because I listened to everything, you know, the whole period of time, and the Golden Boy, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think in that, I would wager, in some ways, that was even more sort of experimental and kind of brave and brilliantly executed than Barcelona, in the fact that it was gospel.
Yeah.
All that, you know, answer call thing that you guys were with the whole choir. The harmonies are extraordinary. Yeah. And then the way you somehow came back into being opera at the outro, and you made it work. I mean, that's down to you, man. The arranging on that is phenomenal. I have to say, it's like absolutely fantastic. So, I mean, I love Barcelona. It's genius. It's one of the great tracks of all time, in my view. But I also think The Golden Boy was extraordinary, how you mixed gospel with an opera singer. And you know, and obviously Freddie loved gospel music, and I'm sure she probably did too. But how you managed to arrange it all that it actually worked was, I mean, do you listen back to that track and think, oh my God, how did we pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, there were other, yes, but you're right in many respects. I think it is arguably a harder task to do that particular track. And sometimes these things came from... There are other tracks what was the other one? The Fallen Priest.
Rachmaninoff's Revenge.
Yeah, Rachmaninoff's Revenge, that's what I called it. The difficulty was sometimes when you're kind of 2 or 3 minutes into a song and you've got... And these are normally about 5, 6, sometimes 7-minute tracks. Then it is like a real operatic situation in which, where do we go now? And sometimes it was, oh, we've tried everything else. Let's try, you know, gospel, or let's try to put the tape on backwards, or let's try, we did a bit of that, Sue. There's the days of using tape. And sometimes we ran out of ideas a little bit, or we got worded out at one point on The Fallen Priest, and Fred said he'd never really liked writing lyrics anyway that much. He said, "Oh God," I said, "You know Mrs. Rice, don't you? Give her a ring. We can't stand. We've run out of ideas for this." So we phoned Tim Rice up, and said, "Look, do you fancy helping us out on this?" And of course, the fax machine. So, and
with a fax machine,
yards of paper came out with this kind of fabulous English language which Tim's gifted with. And but there again, that was a funny thing because there's a line in there, and you've got to read the whole lyrics of The Fallen Priest to understand the angst and the pain and the drama in it.
Sure.
But he said, "Look what she's written here. Shackled. You can't sing shackled. She mad. Front and back." So we get the sort of thesaurus of things that sound like shackled but aren't shackled. Don't have a curt in the middle. So, but look, it was a voyage of discovery in many respects, and sometimes it came from desperation. What shall we do now? But you know.
So was he like anxious about meeting her the first time, Peter?
Yeah.
Terrified, I think.
I've never seen him so nervous in my life, just pacing up and down, chain smoking in the suite. And he turned up early for lunch.
Yeah, that's first.
Instead of 10 minutes late.
And also, I remember reading very sadly from David, the engineer, David Richards, when he said that, I saw an interview where he said that Freddie had insisted the studio redecorate the bathroom so that she was happier. Yeah. Everything had to be just so, flowers everywhere, so she would be comfortable.
An opera star.
Yeah.
You know, he used to say, I said it, I'm sure, that at dinners he would point and say, "I'm just so proud of him. I stole him from the real stars," pointing at me.
Wow, amazing.
Because he stole me from the opera house, the real stars.
So, I mean, you had that relationship within the opera community from the time at the Royal Opera House. I mean, so did you know people that knew her? I mean, was your kind of sphere of influence?
She was really... I liked opera before, mainly because of Valerie Masterson.
Oh, right.
I was a real fanboy. I would send her flowers on every first night. She didn't have a clue who I was, but I would send her flowers, everything. But I fell in love with opera on April the 22nd, 1975, which was my first night working at the Royal Opera House, Il Trovatore, with Carlo Cusuta, Irina Akhivova, Cheryl Milnes, Anton Guadagno conducting, and some lady called Montserrat Caballé singing Leonora.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with opera.
Do you think Freddie liked that about you, the fact that you weren't from the pop world, that you were from the opera world when you first met? Was that...
I think he thought I knew more than I did because I came from the rarefied world of opera and ballet. I was working for the Royal Ballet at the time of Margot Fonteyn, Rudolf Nureyev, Anthony Dowell, Merle Park, you know, the stars. And I went to him.
So when you and Fred were in the room together with the first time again, I know it's trying to imagine the scene, but when you and Freddie and Montserrat were working together, the first time when you kind of heard back them playing off each other, that must have been extraordinary.
Well, it was remarkable. I mean,
did it take a while to get that going, or was it very instant? Was it only a few takes, or?
But with her, it was, because what would happen is I would write her a part out, and then she could sight read the part, and then all she had to do was interpret it in her own way. I didn't have to tell her how to sing it.
Right.
You know, and sometimes, I mean, there's a story I can tell later on about the language barrier, but opera singers, when they sing things, even Montserrat singing in Spanish, you sometimes couldn't understand what was being said. It's not important, because reaching the notes...
It's the delivery.
It's the delivery.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter, we all know what the text is anyway, and... yeah, you'd be killed for that in an Leeds pub. You just keep my pint.
You play my pint? You're looking at my pint?
I was paying for that. So, yeah, it's the delivery that I'm getting there, and that's it really. So the execution of it, from her point of view, wasn't that difficult. She'd do it relatively quickly. Actually, I mean, the way they record, they're kind of used to recording in bits. You know, opera singers don't record a whole opera by singing the opera. Sure. You know, they do it in bits, usually very small bits, like 4 bars at a time.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, because don't forget, your union rules for each hour, you can actually record 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, but also that is, if someone cocks up and makes a mistake in the orchestra, for example, then you've got to redo it. You don't have to do the whole thing just for 4 bars. So you like phone sessions, really. You
also,
just do an edit section.
Don't forget what Mr. Domingo told you when he came in to record.
Yeah, I produced Placido Domingo once.
Fantastic.
And he was doing Othello at the Opera House, and I was doing a piece which he'd written, but he wanted to do something to get him into the, you know, like the Pavarotti thing, where he wanted to go on top of the pops, basically. And I said, and and Andrew Lloyd Webber had asked him to do something from his what's it called, that work he did? It's just, anyway, it's a piece of classical music, and he wanted to do, you know, one of those. Sarah just
Phantom of the Opera, was it?
No, it was the other one.
I can't remember.
Anyway, whatever it was.
move on.
We'll figure it out in a minute. It's too long ago. But but anyway, I was asked to produce that, and he was in doing Othello at the Opera House, which is one of the biggest tenor roles you can imagine. Sure. And he was on stage that evening, and I'd got him in the morning, which is no time for an opera singer to sing anyway.
Of course, yeah.
So he said he'll come in at 12, and he said he walked in and said, "Michael, I have one B flat." So don't miss it. I mean, and then he did the B flat. He said, paste it in, you know. I have one B flat. Well, you can understand because he's got a mountain to climb 3 hours later.
Now, people don't really understand that. I mean, it's the kind of hidden world of recording with opera. So I've never worked with a big opera star, so I have no idea. That's interesting stuff.
And also because you get the time, you can do it again and again and again, but very often the third or fourth take is much worse than the first one. Mm-hmm. Because if they're not going to hit it, they're not going to hit it on number 10 if they can't do it on number 1.
The other thing is, I mean, Dave Richards was not a classical engineer, and Fred had never been involved in recording operatic voices before. He put the microphone about there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit like a in a blast from a trombone or something. The sound goes like that. So pretty close to is no good anyway, because she just breaks all the microphones. Yeah. And it's you've got to allow for that kind of stuff. And but the control of dynamics is very important from an opera singer, and you've got to learn the proper mic placements. And the other thing is.
Because you've got to think of their performance live, and how they got to do it. And
the other thing,
projection.
They kind of got used to it by this time, but sort of in the early days of opera, if it wasn't live, they'd have speakers playing. You know, do you remember those days?
Yeah, of course.
But you can't do it. You couldn't do anything like it. You can't edit it. You can't do anything. You can't change it. You can't, whatever.
So you get the track done. Barcelona, and it's extraordinary and it's amazing. It's a huge amount of work for you because obviously you arrange the music. And I mean, I was listening to it this morning, and I listened to the classical version, the full orchestra. And my first, if I'm being honest, when I was thinking about it, because I know you used a lot of MIDI instruments and samples on the original recordings and synths and whatever, and you were figuring a way how to make it sound like an orchestra by using MIDI instruments and samples. And then I listened to the last version of it, which is with the full orchestra. And I'll be honest, I prefer your version. And there's something about it. There's something about the power and the kind of and the intimacy. Even though it's huge, there's something about it that to me was better. And I was surprised by that because I expected to prefer the full orchestra version, and I didn't.
But
Freddie wanted, from the very, very beginning, to have Michael the orchestra.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And didn't want an 80-piece orchestra.
I said to him afterwards, when we finished the album, I said, Fred, well, you're absolutely right. I said, do you want me to orchestrate it? He said, we've agonised over every note. Don't you like it? And I said, of course I do. He said, it stays as it is. And it was difficult because there weren't masses of instruments, even digitally, to use. We used the old emulators. What happened with the emulators was you had to put floppy disks
in,
and then if you put the wrong one in, it was like, you had to wait 10 minutes, whir, click, bang, hit it on the thing, and then it comes out, oh no, it's the wrong one. Then you've got to start all over again. And that's the story of the in some ways, the start of Barcelona, when it goes ding, 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 ding.
Belly cancer.
Belly cancer. And so I'm looking for that sound. I said to Fred, we'd sort of worked out a little bit like the verse, and I said, it's the end of the studio day and we were heading back for dinner. Dinner was on the table at Garden Lodge, so that was an absolute must. Couldn't be late for that. But it's true, isn't it? A Joe special. Oh, Phoebe. So I said, I've got this idea. It needs to be a very grand thing. So I said, I've got an idea for this. Ding, 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 ding. In thirds, And he said, dinner's ready. I said, look, let me just try something. And so I put what I thought was a belly kind of sound. It said something like percussion bell. I don't know, tubular bells or whatever. I can't remember what it said. And I put it in, but it whirred and clicked for a while. And And then this little thing came up. It said, Fender Stratocaster with chorus, right? I went, oh, that's not remotely Bell-like. And Freddie said, oh, come on. I said, look, let me just put...
Because he was famously impatient, wasn't he?
Famously impatient, yeah. And I said, let me just do one take and I'll just put this down so I don't forget it. And so I started to play it, and I played it 2 octaves above, and I put the harmonies on it and made that ting, 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 ting. I've never been able to reproduce that sound live. So whenever I've done it live, I've usually, in recent times I've done it live, I've played the actual patch on as you know, punch it in, then punch it out.
Wow. So it's a happy accident.
It's a happy accident. So I've never, that's how we got to the start of it and doing that sort of intro. But it was also Fred would say the creative process of it was like I'd sort of have a knowledge of orchestration, so I would go, we need to do that, and he would go, are you sure that will work? And yes, it's fine, it will work. And sometimes it didn't, sometimes it sort of did, but and he would go, see. Right, and then when it did work, I would go, see, told you. But then, when I was typically we were doing sort of backing vocals, like let's say you know, well anything, but with some of his famous backing vocals, he had his own language of writing out, you know, things, and it wasn't notation in the sort of written music sense, but he had his own way of doing it. And he said, "Dan, you need to learn this so you can tell me what to sing." Not that he didn't need, but he said, "Do you know? I need a 4-part harmony there. I'll tell you if it's right or wrong." So I'd write it down in his, you know, and he would go, boom, 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 and I'd say, "It doesn't work." And he'd go, "No, give me, let me do one more track, right?" And then he put one more take in, and it might just be 1 or 2 notes, but it suddenly became Queen.
Right. Yeah. I understand.
You see,
I worked with a singer years ago called Estelle, and you remember his pop singer?
Yeah.
And she used to call them crunchy notes.
Crunchy
like
notes.
these notes that aren't quite correct, but they just work. You don't know why. And he knew what they were as well.
That's right.
But sorry, just going back to that, I have to ask you, because I was listening to it this morning, and I looked at the credits for Barcelona, and I'm sure I could hear Roger Taylor's BVs on that track. He's not credited on the record. Did he sing on it?
Yeah.
I knew it was him.
You know,
Because you know that high end, Roger has that, that really high falsetto, like huge.
Oh, he does that playing the drums? I've no idea. But it's hard, isn't it, being a singing drum?
So he was on the record. So
yeah.
Oh, okay, Roger. And John Deacon played bass.
Not on Barcelona. You're not allowed 2 Queenies on one track because it becomes a Queen track.
Oh, I see.
There's a little bit of, you know.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
John Deacon played on one track, and Brian played on what did he play on?
I don't know. But he sung on Barcelona for sure. Yeah.
Roger, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And on Time.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And Brian May didn't play on any of the record, did he?
Not on Barcelona, he played on All God's People.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you had the huge launch then in Ibiza.
Yeah.
That must have been a thing. And because nobody had heard anything up to that point, not even the record company, legend has it.
No, nobody heard anything.
So everybody's waiting for this track. That must have been extraordinary.
Yeah, they couldn't understand it because, you know, all the New Romantics were there, you know. The
Spandau Ballet and Duran. And
he goes, what are you doing? What's going on here? You know, and we just have to wait and see. And nobody knew, you know. And it was a massive cast, wasn't it? Absolutely massive. And so there we were at what became Imagine was the Coup Club then.
Biggest club in the world at the time.
It was. It didn't have a roof on. Neither did Amnesia.
And then there was the stage pulled back, and it was
the swimming pool in front of it. A few people finished up in there, but nobody knew what was going on, and so it was a huge big surprise. And people were, literally open mouthed. Yeah. What's going on? And then because it hit the chorus about, you know,
100K's worth of fireworks.
But it was, you know, then it, you know, the international.
And nobody has really quite done that before that, really, that kind of combination of opera and...
in that way, no.
In that way, of course, you know, there's been people who've toyed with it. But how, as you said I think you wisely said, where you allow them to be in their lane.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
Freddie was singing pop and Montserrat was singing opera, and
right.
never the twain shall meet kind of thing. You stick in your lane and it will work, but you somehow manage to make it work. As I said earlier, what really I found absolutely extraordinary was how you made The Golden Boy work, because it was gospel, and that's even trickier, but somehow it bloody worked.
It does, yeah.
I was amazed by that when I properly was analysing it today. I just, oh my God. I mean, that's a credit to you, man. Amazing job on the orchestration and how you
it's also the I would say the trust of people allowing you to do it. The fact that, you know, I don't think of many people that could have. Well, actually, the record company didn't know too much about it.
Well, the thing is, Freddie actually paid for it all himself, didn't he, until it was finished?
That's right.
And then the record company jumped at it.
Yeah. Nobody knew what was going on, but yeah. You've got to trust people; it's going to work out. So.
And the video was fun?
The video was amazing.
David Mallet.
David Mallet, yeah. He's yeah.
So that was a lot of drag going on in that, I think, was there? I'm trying to remember that video. It was kind of, who was in it? There was you.
Just
with your
lightsaber.
I think a lot of people thought you were Brian May, didn't they?
No, they did, yeah. I don't think Brown could conduct a bus, really, but never mind. but no, no, what happened then was David Mallet said, we need something, you know, they put me on this rostrum. It's that really high. It's about it's about 5 meters high, you know, and so I was, and this sort of conductor's rostrum round it. And it's Fred's idea to, rather than me using a baton, it didn't paint in this sort of light, so they built these lightsabers. And of course, it was the early days, and it was just like a neon light and real glass.
I had to hold.
Right, I had to hold it like this, but I had this cable running right down my trousers into two 12-volt batteries, car batteries underneath. And so it looked great. And the way that sort of big top shot where it goes right over the audience with all the lighters on, it looked fantastic. And we did a couple of takes, and then David Mallet said, "I think we're good with all that." And Fred said, "Why don't you do something? We might not use it, but why don't you when conductors tap the baton on the thing for?" I said, "They don't do that really, only in a rehearsal maybe, but they don't. But it might look nice." And so I did it, tapped the thing, and the whole thing shattered.
Getting back to the Ibiza show, I think I read that that when you were going to do the performance, you know, obviously you're showcasing the track, and at first, like Freddie was like saying to you, it was like, "Oh, maybe I should tone it down a bit."
Did,
yeah. So, and then you can tell the rest of the story.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we did the first live rehearsal, it was in the afternoon. It was a steaming hot day. So and Fred said, she's helped onto the stage, and all of a sudden, and Fred said to me, he said, "I'm not sure I can do my usual kind of hurling myself about. I've got to respect her age and that she's not quite as agile as she used to be and that kind of thing, whatever." I said, "Oh, you're sure, pal. You know, take it as it comes." And of course, it had completely blotted out that she'd played some of these big heroic operatic things as an actress as well as a singer. And she came hurtling on the stage towards him, and he whirled around. He said, "Oh, what's this?" And then it was fine. Yeah.
So working with him, was it difficult? Was he because he was very non-technical, so explaining what he wanted. I mean, honestly, was he hard to work with in trying to realise what he wanted? I know you had a lot of experience with. I mean, I think you were the right person at the right time because of the fact that you did a lot of film scores, and then he ended up wanting to do something very, you know, opera-like. Say cinematic, you know, because those tracks were very cinematic. Yeah. You were exactly the right fit at the right time for someone that Freddie needed to work with.
It wasn't well, I say non-technical, but he got excited, and he's a bit like me actually. I sometimes, you know, the rubbish comes out. We all do that, and particularly if you're excited about something. It's very hard to be articulate when you're on the verge of something. That sometimes you kind of run out of words, and you go, "Oh, just you know that thing with the thingy, you know that thingy, you know, but that way you do that wiggly thing or whatever it is." So it was full of that kind of language, but you kind of got what he meant. You know, he would say to, like, he was merciless with bass players, particularly when it's just a trio. Right. You know, yeah, up the dusty end, darling. You know, make it whizzed up and down a little bit, you know, and you know, whatever. So it would be very like this. I do it myself. I says I can't really blame
funny enough, one of the bass players, we're segueing here a little bit, but who's the bass player on Snot Rap? Because he was great, man. The bass line is fabulous on that track. Do you remember?
It might even have been me, actually. I'm not sure. It might have been a really good synth one. I'm not sure, actually.
It's a great bass line.
I can't remember.
It reminded me of the Blockheads bass player.
Yeah.
And, you know, but anyway.
Because I recorded the whole thing, because it's a bit of a rap, and I thought, you know, sort of clavinets on it and that kind of stuff. So I remember doing a lot of, well, I did most of it myself, but I can't remember. I think there's a programmed drum track as well. But,
so you finish, it's a big success, Barcelona. So obviously at what point did you know that Freddie was ill after that?
Good question. And the truthful answer to this, and I think most of us, probably the exception of Phoebe's, had no idea. Not no idea. But a lot of us went into denial. You know, we didn't talk about it, we didn't think about it, we knew something was wrong, but it's Fred. You know, that was the thing. It's Fred. What? It's Freddie Mercury. Nothing's going to happen to Freddie Mercury. And I think it's true, isn't it, Phoebe? Yeah. None of us really. I mean, you do probably, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we knew, we had been told in May 1987. Yeah. So while he was recording this, he told Montserrat, because she was going on about how it was going to be amazing, both of them performing it in 1992 in the stadium for the Olympic Games, and he said to her that he did not think he would be there for that. He must have told you at some point around then.
Yeah, he did.
But when you were with him every day, there was no room in your mind for those thoughts. Sure. He was there, he was with us, he was going to go on.
Also, I think it's like, it doesn't matter what, if you've got a terminal illness, you don't want to be defined by what's wrong with you.
Yeah. And
see, judgment on what I do is what should be happening, rather than, oh, he's doing well considering he's got cancer or AIDS or...
Yeah, no. He was just doing very well.
Very well.
Yeah, and he never felt sorry for himself, did he, ever?
No. Well, not... Well...
Because he was a tough cookie at the end of the day, you know, when it came down to it. He
was very fatalistic in many respects, wasn't he? I mean, he said, I'll be dead by the time I'm 50 or something like that. And he was quite... I'm not being around then, you know.
Yeah, but the thing is, he would never let work stop. He would never let his health stop him working.
No. But he got excited about things. I mean, you know, I remember with The Miracle, he said, and I wasn't involved in any of that. It was just a Queen thing. But he phoned me up. He said, you've got to come down to the set. It's remarkable with these kids. And he was excited.
Yeah.
And
this was in, what, 1990?
Something like that, yeah.
Right through to the end, he never let the illness decide what he was going to do.
In any way.
That's not at all. He decided in the end that it was going to be the end. And the thing is, even you would have seen in those last 2 weeks more than I did, because I never saw him ill until he wasn't with us anymore. Because it was still him. He was talking, he was alive, he was...
I remember when you phoned me up very, very vividly and said, are you free on September the 5th? That was his last birthday party.
Wow. Yeah. So I got to ask you, Mike, so...
Carry on.
It's difficult. It's really difficult dealing with this. Can I ask you honestly, so did working with Freddie change your relationship with music? Like how you worked with music by working with Freddie?
Not really technically, but the things you learn from someone like him, I mean, if anybody else comes along like him, you know, I'll probably understand a bit more. But no, I don't think I don't think it was anything. What I learnt from him was I sort of knew it already in some respects, but nothing's impossible. Right? If you've got something in your head and you're a creative person, you've had some degree of success, chances are what you do is always going to be of a certain level, isn't it? It's not going to go there. It might not be there, but it never drops below a certain level. But I've also, and I like to experiment with things, but I've never met anybody that was experimented so well, instinctively. I just haven't.
And all the amazing people you've worked with through your career.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. If just listening to this talk for the last hour or two or whatever, you must feel incredibly lucky.
I do.
And incredibly proud.
Oh, well, I'm...
With the people that you've spent time with.
Yeah, I
and the
agree
thing
with
is,
that.
with
Yeah.
Freddie, you did the album, but then you were close beside him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I mean,
He
I have to
wanted
say,
you close.
yeah, I have to say, like, hat off to you. It's like when you look at somebody's life like yours, and you've done extraordinary things. I mean, and you're a real grafter. You really, again, I always say to musicians now, where I'm working as a producer, I have a modus operandi, which is like, grab opportunities, and where you can't grab them, create them. And you're a testament to that, but also at the highest level, you're hard worker, but all brilliantly talented, but you saw opportunity and you grabbed it, and you just, that's what it takes. If anyone out there is watching this, you want to be a great musician, just look at Mike Moran and see what he did, and how he ended up with working with Freddie Mercury. Because it wasn't totally by chance. Freddie would see great talent, and he wouldn't tolerate you for 1 second unless you were top of your game, man. Come on. He's one of the greats of all time.
That was even with 4 broken ribs.
Yeah, it was meant to be. That was meant to be, and you earned that right and that place in his history. It's a wonderful thing, but it's all completely justified. And it is amazing when you look at people's lives. It's the one good thing about doing this job, and you see people, and you understand why they are where they are and why they did what they did, and you did that. But just lightening the mood a little bit.
Okay.
Why were the parties at Garden Lodge so fabulous?
Because he played the piano.
You got to tell me, come on.
Because he played the piano.
Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah,
But try and explain to me the setting and the mood. What was it?
But everything was around the piano.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
It really, literally. There would be
it was of the highest musical quality, by the way.
it was all the old Hollywood musicals were coming out.
And who was around? There was Peter Straker there. Is that-
Always. Always. Yeah.
So you had a little crew who were always around him.
Yeah. But anybody, people used to get dragged into this, whether they wanted to or not. The famous film stars would be singing along with the trolley song.
Clang, with the trolley. No, I mean, the thing is, that house was a music. It was a musical house. So we knew. It didn't matter if because it didn't start off as a party.
No.
It started off as people sitting around having a cup of tea.
Right.
And then it would just sort of evolve a little bit. And it would move from underneath the minstrel's gallery to the big seating area by the window, which was right next to the piano.
Yeah, well, there we are.
And it's like I said to people, the person who bought Freddie's piano in the big sale, the big Sotheby's sale, thinking of Freddie Mercury's DNA all over the keys. Sorry, it's his.
Just going back on that as well, because looking back at that time, I'm trying to visualize it, and you're all sitting around the piano.
Also doing Christmas carols.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
There was Susanna York was there one time doing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was.
I mean, just people coming round. Christmas Eve. It's Christmas carol. He was a Victorian gentleman. This is what, complaining about the noise of all the frames bouncing around on the piano when you're playing it. I mean...
But also, Garden Lodge was an extraordinary place. It was a very happy, wonderful place to be. The vibe in the house was just it's a home.
Yes.
You know, first and foremost, you could put your feet on the table and, you know, just don't mind the Matisse, you know. Do you know what I mean? I remember my daughter at the age of like 4, and first time I took her to Garden Lodge, and she's running around, and there was on the table right next to one of the chairs in front of the Matisse, and it had these crystal the things like fishes, weren't they?
Yeah, the Lalique
fishes.
Yeah.
And she was down into and my wife was going, don't touch that. And Freddie said, she's 4 years old, dear. You know, let her play 3. She's younger, actually, probably about 3. Let her play their toys. That's what they were, you know, they're not...
And there were the crystal sweets
Crystal sweets.
With the like wrappers,
Yeah.
and, you know, from Lalique.
Yeah, sure.
And trying to open them. And...
The only thing I will say, when I watched the film, the only thing, from everything you've told me, Peter, and, you know, when we've chatted before about this, is that Freddie was very funny. He was a very funny guy. And in the film, I didn't feel they reflected how funny he was.
No.
You know what I mean? He was a very funny, and how loyal he was to his friends.
It was a Hollywood film aimed for millions and millions of cinema goers.
Sure.
It was not aimed at thousands of Queen fans who actually knew Freddie's life.
No.
It was written by a script writer who knew how to write a Hollywood script, who knew absolutely nothing about Freddie.
Right.
He was given 4 or 5 facts to work with.
I think they betrayed him in that way, though. That's maybe too strong a word, but I felt like the way, from everything, when I see you two talking about Freddie, and anyone else I've seen it, the love and respect that he had from his friends to this day, and how it affects you, how you're both moved by even talking about it, genuinely really moved about talking about it. I mean, it is a really touching, beautiful thing. After all these years, the amount of love and respect that he had from his friends, and how funny he was, how much fun it was to be around him.
Yeah, that side of the and the idea of him sitting all alone, you know, that house was full of love and fun and joy. And you're right in that respect. There are other things that I have to be honest with you, I wasn't a great fan of the film myself.
No, but, I mean, the thing is, it would...
The music wins, though.
Yeah, this is it. It won a huge new generation of fans for the music.
That's absolutely true.
The problem, it's made all of these internet experts on Freddie Mercury because they've seen the film 5 times.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, if there was one more scene, literally one more, 30 seconds, 40 seconds... Freddie Mercury at home in Garden Lodge with friends laughing.
Yeah.
That's all it needed.
Playing Scrabble. It's like World War III,
yeah,
wasn't
because he was a big board games fan, wasn't he?
Yes.
I remember reading with Reinhold Mack, who said that when he started his session, he said, yes, well, we would first start the game of Scrabble and Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah, Trivial Pursuit.
Honestly.
Yes.
So he's really into board games, yeah.
And he lost Trivial Pursuit once because he gave the wrong answer. It said, who is the lead singer of the band Queen? And he says, me!
No, wrong. It's not
It's
me.
wrong. It's Freddie Mercury.
That's right, yeah.
So he played a lot of board games at home.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is the thing. I mean, from everything I've researched, I'd be very envious I never met him. It was like I did, from talking to you, I would have loved to have met him. Because he was, I was sort of thinking on my way here, I thought, Freddie was kind of like, obviously, the thing we said earlier on, this like, he was very private, and he did put on this persona for the world, and I think he was that old school thing of no mystique, big mistake. You know, you keep the mystique, but to his friends, he was incredibly loyal, fun to be around, and an amazing
generous to a fault.
and generous, and incredibly and thoughtful about friends, and when their birthdays were, and he would always have a present. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I heard you gave him his best birthday present.
Yes,
apparently.
you did.
The
little cassette.
Oh, the cassette, yeah.
The little cassette.
I've forgotten about that, yeah.
Happy Birthday and Variations.
That's so sweet.
And he loved that. He absolutely
did actually. I
loved
remember.
that.
Yeah.
All it was happy birthday and 6 variations by different classical composers.
He's a violinist, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And towards like the last, well, I think it was 3 years before he passed, he did that show at the Dominion. And I think it was a charitable event. What was it called again? I think I had it in my notes somewhere here.
I don't remember.
The End of Time.
Yeah, The End of Time, where he sung at the Dominion, yeah. And were you guys there for that?
Yeah, I was in the pit.
Wow, so that must have been
Yeah.
He did.
just intense and wonderful at the same time.
He sang that, the one that he didn't record. What was the one he
At
did?
time.
Yeah, but the duet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. I've got it now.
And both him and Cliff let him stop and let Freddie soar up
right.
each time.
But he went into the audience selling ice creams.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes, he did.
He did, yeah.
Well, no. He went into the audience
Well.
and gave away ice cream.
Oh, yeah, right. Ice cream man.
He just threw it.
Have a corner, darling. So yeah, but it was. I mean, it was important. It was an important event that because it was all the people collecting were AIDS sufferers, and it was shamefully. Some people thought that was not the right thing to do. You know, and
Because people were going to be eating off the same.
yeah, well, you're going to be within 50 paces. You're going to die. Oh, it's all that
that's terrible.
misinformation, that shit that went on then. But it was a joyful event for many reasons.
And there was a party afterwards.
Oh God, yes, there was.
At the Natural History Museum.
Yeah,
Which was incredible. I mean, where else could you compare time?
yeah.
So what year was this? Was this 87?
87. Yeah,
7, yes.
yeah.
It was the last time he sang live.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, the time before that, I think, with Queen was Nebworth, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken, I think
was
with the band, yeah, the
86.
Nebworth gig,
Yeah.
the last show at Nebworth with Queen, and then the last time as a solo artist was the Dominion. So, did you feel that was the last time he was ever going to sing? Did you think so, Peter? I mean, you were so close
You
to
never
him.
knew.
No, because, as I say, when you're with someone every day, you don't see any difference. I never thought that was going to... Why would that be the last time he sang live?
It's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously still making records.
I'm surprised he didn't rise again.
This is it. He was continually recording.
Yeah.
So why couldn't he sing live?
Yeah.
I mean, I know why he couldn't tour, because he could not take the health tests for insurance, blah, 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 blah. So he couldn't tour, okay. But why couldn't he sing live?
Just going to the rest of the band, you worked with the rest of the band as well.
Yeah.
So, in what respect was that? I mean, who did you worked with Roger?
I did. Actually, I played live with Roger's band when Spike was ill or couldn't do something, and I did a gig with the Cross. But I also did. I played on Brian's album Back to the Light. Did a couple of TV things with him. Yeah.
You were never in the studio at the same time as the band as Queen when they were working together, were you?
No.
And did you get on with the guys? I mean, it's a difficult question on a podcast, but did you and Brian get on well, and you and Roger?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely fine. Yeah, absolutely fine.
You were going to say, Peter?
I did. Oh, sorry.
I'm just thinking of all God's people. You didn't.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah.
work
Oh
with
yeah.
them.
I suppose I did really. Yeah. And of course I played with them on the tribute.
Of course, yeah.
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 So.
And Adam Lambert, what do you think of him as the singer that's kind of gone in to replace Freddie at times?
The thing about Freddie's irreplaceable. So I've sort of views about that really. But look, the guys have got every right to want to carry on, and if someone comes along, my thing is Paul Rodgers was the first one, but Paul, the original time Paul sang, which I did that gig with, was the Guitar Legends in Seville.
Sure.
In 19, was it?
Yes, and that's where the idea came from for him to perform
with Queen. And in some respects, look, I'm not. Adam's a great singer. I just wonder sometimes about not whether he's not more concerned, but whether he feels like he has to impersonate Freddie.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yeah, of course.
And get Freddie's manner. I don't think that's my ideal thing for the frontman of Queen would be someone who's just like, in some ways, like Paul, just sings. The problem with that was that if you went to their concerts, was it a free concert or was it a Queen concert? Because Paul had
sang
fans.
a couple of theirs, yeah.
So it was it's kind of a bit weird that way. But look,
I never saw those shows. I mean, because Paul's an incredible singer, but he hadn't got the range of Freddie.
No.
No, it was a different
show.
Right.
It was a different show. Because he wanted to do, All Right Now, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, different. And Adam's a terrific singer, and he's a very nice man, So, yeah, it's fine. Whatever they want to do is fine. I just think sometimes I would have preferred. It's not my choice. Who am I really? But I didn't like to see a Freddie impersonation.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's what Brian and Roger never ever wanted. That's why they never picked anybody who has a moustache and does the whole Freddie thing.
Sure.
Because, as they have always said, there was only one Freddie.
Yeah.
You cannot replace Freddie.
I find that hard to get past, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So it's been like...
Nothing wrong with anybody that comes and does the gig, but nothing against them. They're all wonderful singers.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's 34 years, is it now, since Freddie passed?
Yeah, it will be.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
that's scary.
I mean, I don't want to get all too maudling, at this point, but you're obviously both still dealing with the trauma of it, even after all these years.
Yeah. The thing is,
I mean, I can see it in your faces. You're both still... I mean, it's fun, but at the end of the day, he's gone. I mean, it's difficult to deal with, isn't it? It's to lose somebody like that.
Freddie thought in those lines. He thought, well, oh God, what? Because his will is set for 50 years. So obviously he thought that in 50 years there would be absolutely nothing coming in. There would be nothing to talk about with Freddie. And we're now... There's how many years left? 16?
Yeah.
He's still going to be around. But he never dreamt that he would be. He thought, wow, I've had a great time. People will want the music for another few years. Fine, great. He never ever dreamt that he would just be as big now as he ever was when he was
got a whole new
alive.
audience. And that is
Yeah, this is it.
That, in effect, is largely due to the film, because the best move there was to make it a 12, so kids could go and see it. If it had the naughty bits in and a bit, something that weren't quite suitable for it, they would have missed that audience.
Right.
And I've been to some of these, Queen conventions. I've, played at some of those.
There's kids.
The kids,
running around.
small kids.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as I say, let the music do the talking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's when you hear Freddie and how extraordinary he was as a singer. And I have to say to you, Mike, I mean, listening to the stuff you did with him, it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
You did some wonderful music, and the arrangements, I could feel the love, and technically brilliant, and you were perfect for him at the end of his life, the right fit, and you maybe, some people say, I was lucky. Nah, I don't think, look, there was very few people could have done what you did at that point in his life of what he needed. You were the perfect fit at the time, and the orchestration, even getting back to, as I said, what you did using MIDI instruments instead of like a proper orchestra was fantastic. And, and again, the Golden Boy, the arrangement on that is absolutely extraordinary, like just magical. And I salute you, my friend, for that. I think it was wonderful what you did. And I think Freddie I'm sure he was very proud of it at the time.
Oh, he was...
Yeah.
That was the music that he was the most proud of that he had written. He knew he'd written some wonderful things with Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, his favourite song of all was Somebody to Love. But he was most proud because he had the best voice in the world singing his music with Barcelona. But for me, the fact that from the time that you met him, you never left him.
No, that's true.
You were part of his life from then on. Even if you weren't writing music, recording, whatever, you were always there. You were always there.
It's a privilege.
It was just Freddie and the people that he loved. He always kept together.
Yeah, he was very loyal to his friends.
This is what I always say. People say, describe Freddie in a word. You cannot. But he was the most kind, generous, loyal friend anybody could wish to have.
Yeah.
Because if you were a friend of Freddie Mercury's, he would move the earth for you. Because he knew that these friends would do anything that they possibly could for him.
That's true. Well spoken.
That was it. That was Freddie.
Mike, what's next for you? What are you working on?
I've got a couple of movies I'm waiting to come through. They've been made. I'm waiting to go into post-production to do those. I'll still go out and play. I like to go out and play. I'm off to play with Galileo, who are one of the best tribute bands I've heard anyway. They're in Rome, so I'm going to Rome in a couple of weeks and having a nice outside gig when it's not cold
fun.
and windy.
Well, you're working with Russell as well, Russell.
Oh, Russell Watson, yeah. God bless Russell, yeah. Russell's great. And we're old friends, and, I've known him since he came into the business, so we go back a long way. It's good fun, it's nice work, and he's a nice guy.
Gets you out and about.
Gets me out and about.
Well, I think this is that, Peter, isn't it? It's like, I think with all of us now, is we're not getting any younger, but I think it's important to have what I call, to have serious fun, get together with friends, reminisce,
right.
Play some music if you can, and just, and enjoy the moment. And to be honest, I think it's a beautiful thing to talk about friends who have passed. Of course, Freddie Day is incredible, but with anyone who we've really deeply loved in our lives, that's the best way to remember them.
And the thing is, they're still with us anyway. They're here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they earned it. They earned it. I think Freddie, as you told me about him, he earned every bit of love and respect that he had from his friends.
For sure.
I'm starving now. Should we get something to eat? I'm very hungry. Yeah, so let's go. We can continue this over dinner. But this, Mike, thank you so much.
So we bring everything with us over
Peter,
dinner.
thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much.